Hi, Otters. Today we're going to be starting the immersion process of the writer's workshop while writing informative essays. Remember, in the immersion phase, we are trying to read a mentor text to really learn something meaningful about the craft moves, about the purpose that the author had in writing this, and really in the way it's organized. So you want to make sure that in your writer's notebook or on the mentor text, you have a box that's labeled with the word immersion on the inside. So you remember that this is where we're really coming to look back at our mentor text for how to write a good informative essay. I'm going to ask you to push pause on this recording so that you can read through this essay on your own and really think about what are some craft moves that you notice, how is it organized, and what's the purpose of this informative essay that you have in front of you. So go ahead and push pause and then start when you're done. All right, if you are back because you have finished reading, you might have noticed that the purpose of this informative essay is really to teach or to explain to the reader about ecosystems. And you might have noticed that it's broken into 4 paragraphs. Today, you're going to be labeling each of these paragraphs with some notes and highlighting the different portions so that you really start to understand the organization and make sure that your own informative essays on teen activism and any informative essays going forward really follow a similar pattern. So please go ahead and mark this first paragraph, introduction, over to the left-hand side of your paper. And in the introduction, one of the first things we really want to pay attention to is the first sentence. What is the author doing here? They are writing a hook. Remember, when you're writing an essay, especially if you're trying to teach someone something, you want to grab their attention. You don't just want to say, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Owens, and I'm going to tell you about ecosystems." That would be boring. So some of the ways we're going to practice writing hooks in our informative essay unit include starting with a fact, starting with quotation, and starting with vivid imagery. You'll notice that in this essay, it starts with kind of a combination of a fact and a quotation. I'm telling you about this dramatic decline in the krill population so that you'll be able to have a better understanding of and care about how quickly an ecosystem can be destroyed. So make sure you have some notes on what the hook is on the right-hand side of your paper. The next part of the introduction is the bridge. Make sure you label this middle part of the introduction bridge. And the purpose of the bridge is to introduce the reader to the topic in a way that flows naturally between the hook and the thesis. I'm just randomly talking about krill population in this hook to get your attention. But then I need to really define who cares? So what? What's important about these krill? And then make sure that the reader really understands what ecosystems are and why they are important. Next, I really noticed that this last sentence was very important to the introduction. The last sentence of an introduction should always be the thesis statement. You want to make sure that by the end of your introduction in this last sentence, the reader really understands what is the main idea or the purpose of this essay. It should really be like a roadmap so that the reader knows what to expect as they are reading the rest of your paper, so that they're not surprised or thrown off or confused. You can tell from this last sentence, this thesis, that my entire paper is going to teach or inform the reader on not just ecosystems, but this really delicate balance between the animals and the surrounding environments. You'll notice that I highlighted my thesis statement a new color. You'll need to do that also. Mine is green. You can use another color as long as it's different from the hook. We're going to skip down to the second paragraph. This is going to be the first body. You'll notice that there's 2 body paragraphs in this essay. And if I zoom in on it, I'm going to highlight this first sentence yellow. It really stood out to me. And if I really think about it, this first yellow sentence that I highlighted in the body is the topic sentence. Every first sentence of a body paragraph, an informative essay, should be a specific idea, a supporting detail that supports that bigger thesis statement. So you can see that this topic sentence is about marine ecosystems. So what I should expect to find in the rest of this body paragraph are specific pieces of evidence or details about how specifically marine ecosystems have this delicate balance, right, between their environment and the animals in it. Again, make sure that you've labeled, not only highlighted, but labeled that this is the topic sentence. I'm going to really notice when I'm looking at the middle of this that there's some evidence. I see a reference to an article, I see a direct quote, a citation. I'm going to highlight that blue in my paper. Yours should just be a different color. And this is the evidence. So I want to make sure that I label it evidence. This is all of the research that you are doing on a topic for your teen activist essay. This is going to be all the stuff you're taking power notes on right now. It should be information from a source to support that topic sentence. So if I'm talking about marine ecosystems in my topic sentence, this should definitely be about something important to those marine ecosystems. And this last portion, these last couple of sentences in the body paragraph, this is your analysis. This is where you do the real teaching, right? You're organizing the beginning of the paragraph with the topic sentence and the evidence. Then you're going to really explain, so what? What is important about the evidence that you included? So your analysis should be highlighted a different color. Mine's purple. Yours can be different. And again, you're really explaining the evidence here. You're trying to explain what it shows that's important about the topic sentence and the overall thesis. How is this piece of evidence important to this idea that there's a really delicate balance between the environment of the ocean and the animals that live there? As we jump down to the next body paragraph, you'll see it follows the exact same pattern. So you want to label the second body paragraph, which is the third paragraph in the whole essay, with body on the left-hand side, and you're going to highlight it the exact same way that we did with the first body paragraph. We have our yellow topic sentence. You'll see it starts with a transition, and it's getting a more specific supporting detail. Instead of marine ecosystems, this paragraph is talking about desert ecosystems. Then we're introduced to some evidence, which is in blue. And lastly, our analysis, which is again in purple. So again, the pattern of this body paragraph should match the highlighting you did in the paragraph before. Our last paragraph is the conclusion. So this should be your fourth paragraph. Please make sure you've labeled off to the side that this is the conclusion. You'll see that it starts with a transition, in conclusion. And I'm going to highlight this first sentence. You'll see it's the same color that I highlighted the thesis statement. That's super important. Please make sure that you are highlighting the first sentence of your conclusion in the same as whatever you highlighted the thesis statement. That's because in our conclusion in an informative essay, we always want to restate the thesis. We want to bring the reader back to the big idea, but in different words. We don't just want to say the same thing again. That would be boring and redundant. But we want to kind of remind the reader why we wrote this in the first place. So please make sure you've highlighted this sentence and that you've taken notes about why this is the same color as the thesis statement. Next, you'll notice that the reader really ends by having some sort of a connection to the world. You want to kind of make the reader feel like their time reading this was worth it. So what? Who cares? For the purpose of this ecosystems essay, this essay to teach us about the balance of ecosystems, we really start to see how delicate, how much of the world we live in depends on this balance between the environment and the living creatures who are there. So when you are writing your teen activist essays or any other informative essay, you really want to, by the time you get to the end, think about the importance of it. Think about why this should matter to the reader. And that's it, Otters. You'll find today, if I went too fast, you can pause, go back, watch the video, keep highlighting. And I do have, in addition to the screencast lesson, there's also a sample highlighted mentor text available for you. Please make sure today, when you finish up, that you are folding this mentor text in half and you tape it into your writer's notebook. Your writer's notebook should be labeled on that page, mentor text in immersion. When I see you later this week, I will be checking that this mentor text is highlighted and that you have taken all of your notes on it, and this will count towards your overall grade of your informative essay on teen activism. I hope you are having a good day without Mrs. Owens there. Be well behaved and ask me any follow-up questions when I'm back in class next time. Thanks, Otters. Bye.